All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Happy Friday. We are going to be going through the SEBB program appeals process today. My name is Amanda Neville. Some of you may remember me from training out back in August and September. I'm one of your benefit marketing representatives. I have with me today Mr. Rob Blyden. For those of you who don't remember me, they may remember Rob because he was the other half of our training team. So thank you for all being here today. I'm going to serve as our host for this presentation today. So you'll hear from Rob here in just a moment. So the reason we're here today, one of the reasons we're here today, yesterday the SEBB program did send out some health plan coverage confirmation letters to school employees. So for those school employees who did enroll after that initial open enrollment period ended. And why might that be important? Well, those letters do say to go talk to your HR and payroll office about any questions or concerns you may have with your enrollments. The letters should look familiar, just like the ones that went out after open enrollment, but here is an example. Up at the top, we have those health plans that the employee chose to enroll in, any dependents they may have added, and what coverages they elected, and then information about those surcharges, the tobacco surcharge and the spousal surcharge, whether or not they apply to the account. So, as I just stated, those letters did mail out yesterday. Today, we're here to go through that appeals process with you guys. Why is that important? So let's go through a couple important dates. So February 29th is the last day that the Healthcare Authority, the SEBB program, will accept any new appeals from school employees directly to the Healthcare Authority. We will still process any appeals that have been received and postmarked through February 29th. Now that means on March 1st, the process is going to change. You all, as the benefits administrators, will be expected to be the first level of review for any questions or concerns with those enrollments, eligibility, or premium surcharges for your employees. So let's talk about some reminders here, because employees do have the opportunity to make changes throughout the year. It's limited, but let's look at that. So of course, during their initial enrollment window, they have those 31 days to make changes. They can make a change every single day if they want. Also, we will have annual open enrollment. It will be a 4-week period in the fall. We don't have the dates to provide you today, but it will be a 4-week period in the fall, and those changes will be effective January 1st of the following year. Now, one other way an employee can make a change to their coverages is if they have a special open enrollment event or qualifying event. Typically, that provides them a 60-day window to make a change, and the effective date is generally the later of the first of the month following the event or the date of the form is received. Now, you may have questions about what are some of those events that they could make a change with. That SEBB policy 45-2A that we have linked here, that's that special open enrollment matrix. Hopefully you guys are getting familiar with that. That shows all the allowable events that somebody could potentially make a change to their coverages. It's going to say what documents they need and what changes are allowable per those special open enrollment events. All right, I am going to pass it over to Mr. Rob.
Thank you, Amanda. My name is Rob Blyden. I'm also a benefit marketing rep, and if you can remember, I also went out in August and September to provide that 2-day benefit administrators training. So I'm going to cover the SEBB organization's obligations, review process, the appeal process, and available resources to school employees and benefit administrators. So the two WACs here are used as a reference. One covers the SEBB organization's obligations, and WAC 182-32 covers appeals, practices, and procedures. So there's a lot of obligations that SEBB organizations are responsible for. These are just a few. So SEBB organizations must determine eligibility or ineligibility to school employees, every school employee, and provide notification to employees. And what we mean is those worksheets that are on the BA website. They should also routinely monitor the school employees' work hours. So if a school employee is coming close to reaching that 630 hours, you probably need to know that they're now eligible once they reach that 630. So you want to track and monitor all employee school hours. Also review employer decisions when employees disagree with the eligibility, enrollment, and any premium surcharges related to your decision. Also correcting errors made by the SEBB organization. And lastly, supporting the SEBB program's auditing process. Mistakes are costly, not just to the employer, but also to the employees. And we see all the appeals coming through, error corrections, any back premiums that are due, penalties, and lastly, the employees or their dependents' health may be compromised. Maybe their health plan elections aren't effective and they need to see the doctor. So it's important, again, that these mistakes are very costly. So in accordance with this WAC 182-32-2010, all employees have the right to appeal a specific decision or denial made by their SEBB organization when it comes to eligibility, enrollment, or any premium surcharges. An eligibility decision might be whether a subscriber or their dependent is entitled to SEBB benefits. Maybe they are denied benefits. An enrollment decision might be an application for SEBB benefits, maybe a submission of proper documentation. The employee said they submitted the proper dependent verification documents. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they only submitted just a marriage certificate and not any proof that the marriage is still valid. Also, meeting enrollment deadlines. The employee said that they went on SEBB My Account within their 31-day window and they made their plan elections. So when it comes to general guidance, the SEBB outreach and training staff are available to offer guidance, but not make any decisions. An appeal is only necessary if the employee disagrees with the SEBB organization's decision and wants to appeal that decision. Just keep in mind that the SEBB organization's position and decision must reflect the RCWs, the WACs for the SEBB program, and all SEBB policies. So in accordance with this WAC, SEBB organizations may only reverse eligibility, premium surcharges, and enrollment decisions. Here's the situation. Failure to provide notice of eligibility or accurately enrolling in benefits. If this happens, the error is corrected prospectively with enrollment in benefits effective the first day of the month following the date the error is identified. The Healthcare Authority approves all error correction actions and determines if additional recourse is warranted, such as a retroactive enrollment. Here's another situation. A SEBB organization enrolls an employee or their dependents when they weren't eligible. No fraud or intentional misrepresentation by the employee on their side. Again, when this situation happens, premiums and any applicable premium surcharges already paid by the employee will be refunded to the employee by the SEBB organization. The correction is prospective with termination of benefits effective the first day of the month following the date the error is identified. So here's a couple of resources when it comes to SEBB appeals. These are available for both benefit administrators and school employees. You have the employee enrollment guide. You can research this through pages 74 and 75. All employees have the SEBB website. And then benefit administrators have that BA website that's available for them. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, please contact Outreach and Training through Fuse, or you can call our 1-800 number. This number is only available to benefit administrators. So where do employees and dependents appeal decisions? So if a decision is made by the SEBB organization, you appeal to that SEBB organization. If a decision is made by the SEBB program, you appeal to the SEBB appeals unit. And if a decision is made by the SEBB health plan or insurance carrier, you contact the health plan or insurance carrier and you appeal using the certificate of coverage appeal process. So this is a copy of the SEBB employee's request for review and notice of appeals form. This is the first page, and it's broken down into 3 sections. The top section here is if an employee disagrees with the SEBB org's decision and requests review of the SEBB organization. And you see the box highlighted in green. That employee has 30 days to appeal to the SEBB org. So we're talking about that initial decision that the SEBB org makes and denies either eligibility or enrollment. That employee now has 30 days to request for a review to the SEBB organization. The middle section here is if an employee requests the SEBB program's review of the employer's decision, which means they went through the entire process with the SEBB program or the SEBB organization, and they're still not happy with their decision. Now they're going to request for an appeal through the SEBB appeals unit. And we're going to go through these in the form here. And then the bottom portion of this front page here, this is when an employee disagrees with the SEBB program's decision. And again, they also have 30 days. So an example in this might be maybe the SEBB program denied the person had an extended child, and that was denied, or a disabled child. As you know, those 2 reasons there are only approved through the SEBB program. And if the SEBB programs deny those decisions, again, they would follow this step here on the bottom section, and they have 30 days to appeal to the SEBB program or the SEBB appeals unit. So I'm going to walk you through the form here. It's pretty easy, and if you are filling out this form, highly recommend that you do it online instead of handwriting it. It's much clearer. So the first step in the review process is the SEBB organization denies eligibility and enrollment. That's that initial denial. The second step is the employee has 30 days to request for review to the SEBB organization, 30 calendar days. And they must submit this form to the SEBB organization after they complete sections 1, 2, and 3. So this is what section 1 looks like on page 2. Again, this is all subscriber information, basic information such as name, social security number, address, phone number. But this top portion here, that subscriber must check one of these 3 boxes. Are they the primary account holder that's requesting that review to the SEBB organization? Then they would check the top box. Or were they a school employee that was denied SEBB benefits? So they're an applicant, so they would check the center box. This is page 3. This page here is for additional enrollee information. If you have other dependents that are involved in this request for review, this is where you would insert their information. So section 2, describe your request for your review. This is where the employee would describe in detail what their request is for. What do they disagree? Section 3, the subscriber would sign and date this form and hand it to their benefit administrator. So the third step in the review process is this step must be reviewed by one or more staff not involved in that initial decision by the SEBB organization. The employer completes section 4 through 6 within 30 calendar days from the date that they received this form from the employee. A copy is provided to the employee and the SEBB organization administrator. And this is section 4 here. And again, the SEBB organization has 30 days from this date right here, the date that they received this form from the employee. Fill out the top part with the SEBB organization's information, name, the contact first person, their email address, and then the date they actually received this from the employee. The bottom part of this form is the person that made that initial denial. As you focus on the top part of this form, in this step here, it tells you to complete section 4 and 6. And the next section is section 5 that you'll complete if necessary. And this section is basically if the SEBB organization made an incorrect decision or action that occurred when making the decision. And if you do complete section 5, we ask that you send us a fuse explaining what the error or delay was and what your recommendations are. This next section, section 6, is that staff person's signature. This is the person that did the review, the reviewer signature. And after all this is completed by the SEBB organization, you'll make a copy for the employee and one copy will go into the employee's personnel file. So this is the top of page 5. Again, if you do this electronically online, the information at the top is automatically populated on all the forms. This date right here is when the final decision is made by the SEBB organization, and the employee has now 30 days from this date to appeal to the SEBB appeals unit. This next section here, the employer must check one of these boxes. The top box is if the appeal relates to a decision that was made by the SEBB program. Again, that could be something like an extended dependent was denied or a disabled dependent was denied. A decision that was made by the SEBB program. The second box here is if the employer stands by their decision, whatever that might be. The employee now has 30 days to appeal from the date above. And lastly, the last box here, the employer believes that an incorrect decision or action occurred, then that employer must complete section 5. So if they didn't check this bottom box, it's not necessary that they complete section 5. So this is what section 5 looks like right here. The employer's response. Why do you believe an incorrect decision was made? Was it a delay or was it a SEBB organization error? So in this next section here, you're going to check those boxes, whichever one applies. And in this next one here, you're going to give a brief explanation of the delay or error that the SEBB organization made. The next box down here is what recommendations to correct the decision or action. And then once you complete that, you would again send the SEBB program through Fuse, what your recommendations are, and what the delay or error was. Section 6 down here is the signature by the reviewer. Printed last name, first name, their signature at the bottom, their phone number, and the date that they signed this form. Now, at this point right here, the SEBB organization has gone through the entire review process. If the employee is satisfied, this is as far it's got to go. But if the employee disagrees with the SEBB organization's decision, now they're going to start going through the appeal process to the SEBB appeals unit, which is the next step. So the employee now has 30 days to appeal to the SEBB appeals unit. They will complete sections 7 through 9 of the request for review notice of appeals form and submit that directly to the SEBB appeals unit. It's the employee's responsibility to send that to the SEBB appeals unit. And there's different ways they can do that. They can mail it to the healthcare authority. They can fax it to us. It should not be sent through a Fuse. Section 7 of this form, this is all about the employee. This is the employee's response to the employer's reason for denial. Again, as you fill in these boxes, make sure you're as detailed as possible. The next block down here is any additional information that would help that employee, any additional information for the SEBB appeals unit to consider, not previously stated above. And the bottom section here is if you are attaching additional documents to help your case, then you would check yes, I have attached additional documents, and the block on the bottom, you would state what type of additional documents are those. Was it an email? Whatever the documents might be. Section 8, is that employee represented by someone? Now, this person can be a lawyer, it can be an interpreter, it can also be a union rep. This is what that block is for, Section 8. You would insert all that information if the employee is being represented by someone. And again, if they do have someone representing them, make sure that you fill out the authorization for release of information form. And you can find that form on the HCA website. And then section 9 down here, again, is the subscriber signature and date. So the next step is the SEBB appeals unit must notify the appellant in writing when the request for a brief adjudicative proceeding, otherwise known as a BAP, has been received. The SEBB appeals unit will send a request for documentation and information to the SEBB organization. The SEBB organization then has 2 business days to respond and provide that information to the SEBB appeals unit and that employee. The BAP will be conducted by a presiding officer, and that presiding officer will issue a written initial order within 10 business days of receiving the request notice of appeals form from that employee. A continuance may be granted up to 30 days. The next step is on the employee. The employee does not agree at this point with the written initial order. The employee now has 21 calendar days from the date the initial order was issued to request further review by one or more review officers. Anytime throughout this process, if the employee does agree, this process can stop anytime. And the final step, the SEBB review officer will issue a final order within 20 calendar days of the request for review. A copy of the final order is then mailed to all parties involved. The SEBB employee's request for review and notice of appeals form can be found on the HCA website. Click on School Employees. Click on Forms and Publications. And it'll take you to a view that looks like this. Under Forms and Publications, you do have options to filter out what you're looking for or searching for. You have the customer type. You may want to select SEBB employee. You have the topic type, and in this case, you would probably select appeals, and then click the search button. It'll bring you to this next page here. And as you notice, the form is the very top one. Click on Get Form, and you can download that directly onto your computer desktop.
Hey, Robert, I'm going to step in here. This is Amanda again, everybody. Why might it be important to select that customer type as a school employee when we're looking for that appeals form? Can you explain that to everybody?
That's a good question, Amanda. So again, this section here allows you to filter out so you're not getting all the forms within the healthcare authority. So if you didn't select anything, it might give you forms that have to do with the SEBB program or retiree program. So again, the more specific you are in filtering out things, the better chance you have of getting the results you want. So this is an example of a certificate of coverage from Kaiser. And you notice on the right side is the appeals process for that health plan. So if you are appealing to a health plan, you want to take a look at that health plan certificate of coverage and their appeals process within that and follow those instructions. In order to find the certificate of coverage for health plans, you would go to the same site as you got the form, click on Forms and Publications. You would select School Employee, and under Topic, now you would select Certificate of Coverage. Click the search button, and it'll bring up all the different health plans and their certificate coverage. So let's do a quick review. So an employee has 30 days after that initial denial from the SEBB organization. So the SEBB organization made their decision, their initial decision. The employee was not satisfied. Now he has 30 days to request for review from that SEBB organization. The SEBB organization now has 30 calendar days from the date that they received that form to make a final decision. The employee now has 30 days from that final decision from the SEBB organization. The SEBB appeals unit has now 10 business days after receiving the form from the employee. The employee still isn't satisfied and now has 21 calendar days from the date the initial order was issued. The SEBB review officer now has 20 days to respond to all parties involved with a final order. So this is the appeals process. This is a good document you might want to download. You can find this on the BA website. Click on Appeals, and you should be able to find that document on the very bottom of that page after clicking on the appeals. Something good to hang up in your office instead of bringing it up on here all the time. And again, it takes you through the exact steps that I just took you through. Here are a couple of resources, the outreach and training. There's our 1-800 number. And again, if you want that document on the previous slide, you can click on Appeals Process in the center there under Employee Life Circumstances. Scroll to the bottom of that page, and you'll be able to find that document and print that.
I just wanted to step in here too and remind you guys, I've seen a couple questions coming in. That Fuse system is really to ask questions about scenarios and submit those recommended changes. If you did fill out that section 5, Fuse is not to be sending those appeal forms in for your employees, because just like Robert reminded us earlier, it is the employee's responsibility to send in those appeals forms to the SEBB appeal unit if they wish to continue forward that appeals process after you have made your final decision at the SEBB organization. So we do not want to be sending in those appeals forms through Fuse.
So more resources here. You have the School Employees Enrollment Guide. And again, under the appeals, you can find that on page 74 through 75. And there's the number there for the SEBB Appeals Unit if you have questions. Their fax number as well if you wish to if the employee wishes to fax that form in. And again, like Amanda said, that's the employee's responsibility to send that form in to the SEBB Appeals Unit if they wish to appeal. So I'm going to give Amanda here, and she's going to finish up with some of these scenarios here.
Thanks, Robert. So we have had many questions about the Delta Care versus Uniform Dental Plan, and I'm actually going to walk you guys through this right now with a scenario. So I'm newly eligible employee. I enrolled in Delta Care during my enrollment window. Now my window is closed. I thought I was enrolling in a PPO option. One of my friends told me that they were able to make the switch to Uniform Dental Plan when they had this situation came up. So I went to my BA to ask if I could get this change made. So what would you guys do? That's the question you've all been asking us during this presentation. First, you're going to ask the employee if they already submitted an appeal to the healthcare authority prior to 2/29. If they did, there's nothing else you need to do. They do not need to resubmit an appeal. If they submitted before February 29th, they will get a notification from the healthcare authority, either saying that the appeal was approved, or it will provide information about the next steps in the appeals process. So what happens if they didn't submit an appeal to the healthcare authority before 2/29? If not, you're going to review that enrollment and provide an initial decision to the employee. Now, in this scenario, we already told you that that employee made it through their enrollment window, and now that 31 days or that 60 days, if it was a special open enrollment, that window is closed. So your initial decision in filling out this request for review form is unfortunately no, you're not able to help them with that change. It has to be denied. At that point, you would fill out the form and give it back to the employee, and they can then submit it to the SEBB appeals unit. Unfortunately, I know we want to help out our employees, but this is something that we have to deny. When they're outside that enrollment window, we can't make that change for them. All right, let's look at another scenario. I was newly eligible on March 15th. I completed my enrollment and physically handed my dependent verification documents to my benefits administrator. In May, I realized I never got a medical card for my dependent. I log in to my SEBB My Account profile and I see that my dependent is still pending verification. What do you guys do when this happens? Let's take a look. So you as the BA will review that enrollment to see if an employer error occurred. So yeah, we went through our desk, we found our inbox, we saw those dependent verification documents. We did date stamp them when they came in, so we know that they were received in time. We just never made it into SEBB My Account to process that verification. What do? Well, we let the employee know that yes, you did submit it, it was a mistake. Ask them to submit that written request for review. So have them submit that form to you. You will then recognize that an enrollment error was made, and you'll fill out those sections 4 and 5 in this case scenario on the request for review notice of appeals form. at which point you will pass it off to a second reviewer in your organization, another benefits administrator, another administrator in your office, or a designee to review that decision and complete Section 6 of the form. You will then give a copy back to the employee, and then you'll send a recommended correction through FUSE for the SEBB program's final determination. All right, I'm putting this up on the screen to let you guys know we do have some other upcoming webinars. At the bottom of the page, you'll see that how to register. That is the SEBB Benefits Administrator website. Hopefully you guys are all familiar. If you go to the training schedule and materials link on that page, you can sign up for any of these webinars. Right now, we're going to take a moment to review some of the questions that have come in and try to provide some answers as time allows. Please bear with us for a moment. All right, thank you all for your patience. We have been going through your questions. A lot of them are very specific circumstances, so we will try to address them on a one-on-one basis. But I just wanted to remind everybody, remember, employees have a 31-day window to make their elections. They can make changes at any point in that 31 days when they're newly eligible, or 60 days if they have that special open enrollment event occur. But outside of that, if they have completed their enrollment window and they made a mistake, unfortunately, if they have a special open enrollment event occur, then maybe they're able to make that change, or they may have to wait until the next annual open enrollment, or they can go through this appeals process. But they do have those windows to make those changes and hopefully catch any mistakes that they may have made. But if they do want to try and go through that review and appeals process, unfortunately, that's how they're going to have to handle something if they made a mistake during their enrollment windows. A lot of you too are asking if we're going to give you a copy of this presentation. We're trying to respond back to you guys and let you know this is being recorded. It will be posted on the Benefits Administrator website. When it is posted, you will have access to those links. And all of the links that we have provided, they're all things that are posted on that Benefits Administrator website. All right, we are still filtering through your questions, so we are trying to see what we can get back to you on. I just wanted to make one more clarification on this Delta Care versus Uniform Dental. I know a lot of you have had this question. So in filling out the employer response, that section 4, if they're outside of their enrollment window that allows them to make that enrollment change, you do have to stand by that decision. So that is that second box there. And you have somebody else review the form, complete section 6, and you'll give it back to the employee, at which point the employee can fill out sections 7 through 9 and send it to the SEBB Appeals Program. All right, everybody, I want to say thank you. We are still getting a bunch of questions. It's just more than we can handle directly right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up for today. We are going to post this webinar on the Benefits Administrator website. Under that training schedule and materials page, we will also make sure that we have those links, the actual presentation posted along with that, so you can click through those links and find those resources. What we're going to do is go through these questions and provide some responses to you, either via email or Fuse. Some of you did send in direct Fuse numbers. So we will take a review and we're going to go ahead and provide responses that way. So I'm going to take this time to say thank you all for attending. We really appreciate you being with us today and look forward to, hopefully you didn't mind Robert and I's voices too much today, because you'll be hearing from us here in the future with some of these other webinars coming up. So thank you all again.
Thank you and happy Friday.
Have a wonderful day, and it is National Margarita Day, so maybe have a good evening. Thank you, everybody.